I experimented with marijuana a time or two, and I didn't like it, and didn't inhale.
Well, that's why you didn't like it, moron. What's up, reefer revolutionaries? It's 420. I'm Dave Conan, and this is DC 420. I took a little break, had to do some things, and I needed a break, that's for sure. So I'm back. I finished the screenplay, and there's lots of news going on in cannabis world. I mean, there's lots of other news going on too, and it's a good reason to stay high. But you know, we've got North Korea, we've got Donald Trump continues his rampaging. We got the mooch. You know, I normally don't trust guys that don't swear, but I still don't trust him. Welcome, everybody. You're watching OurResistance.tv. This is Dave Conan. This is DC 420. And we had some interesting news in the Congress today, this week.
In case my mom is watching, I want to be really clear. I'm not advocating for the legalization of marijuana. I want to be very, very clear about that. However, I don't understand why it's a Schedule 1. It's certainly not treated as a inherently dangerous substance for which there is no medicinal value. It takes a tractor trailer full of marijuana to even trigger a mandatory minimum under our drug laws. So is there any appetite for researching whether or not it should remain a Schedule 1 drug?
Congressman, the administration doesn't have a position on that, but I'm happy to dialogue with your office. And let me just briefly say that we strongly support research on medical use of marijuana. And if there are obstacles that we see that prevent good research, we want to address those obstacles. Because if there are component elements of marijuana that could be put through the FDA process and turned into medicines that could help people in this country, we want to do that. So we do think there's some potential, and we support research on the subject.
Well, just so everyone's clear, methamphetamine is scheduled what?
I believe it's scheduled
2. Cocaine is scheduled what?
Also 2.
Cocaine base is scheduled what? 2. So it is scheduled lower than marijuana. And again, you can schedule something and still not have it scheduled as a 1. And I would encourage the powers that be, whoever you need to consult with in the administration, to at least explore whether or not it's scheduled correctly without being perceived as advocating for legalization.
Understood.
With that, Mr. Connolly, I will give you a chance to, I'm reluctant to say whatever you want, but I'm going to give you a chance to, to conclude.
I thank my friend, and I actually want to follow up, if I may, on what you just asked. So the point being made here in some ways, Mr. Baum, is if you, not you personally, if the government, federal government, on this subject, marijuana, and how dangerous it is, has no credibility because of the lack of serious empirical work, it threatens our whole drug policy's credibility. And you're seeing this happen on marijuana in the states. They're making decisions. Ms. Norton talked about 8 states, but there are over 25 states that have in some fashion, including my home state of Virginia, liberalized their laws for medical reasons all the way to recreational reasons. I think you'd have to confess to the chairman's point, there was no empirical evidence to justify putting marijuana 50 years ago as a Schedule 1 drug. Who did that empirical evidence?
Sorry, could you repeat that? Who did what? Who made it?
There was no.
Who did what?
I'm
sorry.
You can feel free
what was
to try
that?
to contradict.
I wrote a paper.
There was, in fact, no.
I taught a class on
justify
drug war and
putting marijuana.
I'm sorry.
Ahead of the drugs the chairman just listed as a Schedule 1 drug 50 years ago. And I would, you brought up the need to have empirical research before we start rushing pell-mell to approve it for medical purposes, and I agree with you. But here's the problem. As I said in my opening statement, only one federal entity, NIDA, controls marijuana for legal purposes for experimentation, testing, and the like, research. And NIDA's mission is all about proving the harms of something. They've a priori determined the outcome of research. Nobody thinks NIDA is an objective, neutral place to go to look at the good, the bad, and the indifferent about marijuana.
Phrases.
It doesn't have that credibility. So if we're going to do what you suggest, we need to have a different entity with credibility where we're looking at objective evidence and science. And then we can determine, well, where does marijuana work? Mr. Humphreys made the point that there's a more lethal or stronger, more fortified versions of marijuana coming out that concern us.
He didn't just say lethal, did he?
We put a lot of people in jail, and we've treated this like it's more dangerous than cocaine and the other substances the chairman's, and it's had huge consequences based on very little scientific evidence. I'm not arguing for the legalization either. I agree with my friend from South Carolina. I'm not going there. But neither can I justify the current policy of treating it as the world's most dangerous drug with its classification. You can feel free to respond, and I'm done.
Congressman, I understand the point that you're making. I would love to go with you in your district to talk to police chiefs and sheriffs. I think in reality on the street, police, sheriffs, they don't treat marijuana the way they treat heroin and fentanyl. So I think in practice, there is a prioritization of the most deadly drug threats.
I actually think that's his point, is that law enforcement doesn't, our sentencing scheme does not. Methamphetamine and marijuana are not treated the same from a sentencing standpoint, but yet marijuana is considered to be inherently dangerous with no medicinal value, therefore a Schedule I. And it would just be helpful, again, to Mr. Connolly's point, for us to have some consistency, or at least be able to explain why certain drugs are Scheduled I and others are not. And you know, we can save that for another day. And again, that's coming from two people that are not advocating for the legalization, just for some common sense in how it's scheduled. On behalf of all the members, I want to thank all of our witnesses for your expertise.
And that video, thanks to Amicus Humani Generis. What's up, Reefer Revolutionary? Oh, yes, I'm on. Okay, what's going on, Reefer Revolutionaries? DC here. This is DC 420, the show where I get high as fuck and talk about the news. No, I'm trying to focus actually more on cannabis news. But boy, I'll tell you, there's a lot of news this week that makes you want to get high. So there you go. I got to relight. But that was Trey Gowdy. Never thought I'd be agreeing with Trey Gowdy on anything. But making some pretty logical arguments about why marijuana should not be on Schedule 1. I'm going to take these off. Why marijuana should not be on Schedule 1, where cocaine is on Schedule 2. So it's pretty absurd, and it's nice to hear that there's actually something going on in Congress, whether I necessarily agree with it or not, because there's a story this week also about the House messing with veterans and their marijuana. And but there seems to be conversation and movement talking about cannabis in the Congress. And you know, what an upside down world this would be if somehow out of this nonsense, this Dolly picture, this Dolly painting of Donald Trump, we get single-payer health care and cannabis off of Schedule 1. So, you know, we can hope make lemons out of lemonade, or lemonade out of lemons, or grapefruits, or pumpkins, or whatever. But, yeah, so there's a lot of action going on. There's a lawsuit in New York I want to talk about a little bit. Let's see if I can, I'm going to bring up this article from Marijuana Business Daily. That talks about this group, this coalition, this cannabis coalition in New York City that has filed an 89-page lawsuit in the New York District Court to basically ask the court to declare the Controlled Substance Act of 1970 to be unconstitutional. and that to immediately ban and bar the Department of Justice from implementing the Controlled Substance Act for with regards to marijuana and all forms of marijuana, not just medicinal. So this lawsuit is very, very important. A lot of people talking about this. They're saying that this might be the type of lawsuit that makes it all the way to the Supreme Court, and we get something along the lines of gay marriage being made the law of the land, sort of a backdoor legalization of cannabis. So that's good news. Now this coalition is quite fascinating. It involves a football player. Let's see, who else? Does it say in this article? I don't think it does. I'll find out exactly who this all is in this coalition. But the main plaintiff is a former Jets player. Also in Congress, in the Senate, they have passed an amendment in the Appropriations Committee, the Leahy Amendment, which is supposed to protect states that have passed medical marijuana laws from prosecution and persecution by the Department of Justice. Now, this is good news. If you remember earlier this year, this article from Reason magazine, Reason.com, old Jeffrey Beauregard Sessions was doing a little backdoor action trying to get these guys to not re-up basically an amendment that was passed a couple of years ago under Obama that did the same thing. And they're trying to not get it renewed. Here it is, it's the Rohrabacher-Farr Amendment, which was this in 2003? No. It passed House 2014, which basically said you can't, go after the states for legal cannabis, legal medical marijuana. So Jeffrey Beauregard writes a letter, says, hey, I want you guys to not renew this law in the next omnibus. And that's basically so he can go after medical marijuana again. And but it looks like the Senate has at least some people, some of the senators have come to their senses, and that they have approved this amendment that is going to do basically what that law did if it gets rescinded. That's my take. Could be totally wrong, because I'm just getting high and talking about the news. But that's good news happening in the Senate. We know Tulsi Gabbard is interested in getting it off of Schedule 1. So this is good news. But over, of course, now in the House, this is the House and Rules Committee is basically trying to take away access for veterans to use marijuana. So that's in Newsweek. Also in Newsweek, how it's, cannabis is hitting mainstream, and this week coming out in the paper edition, it's already up. Cancer in Kids, Medical Marijuana, the Answer. This is a pretty in-depth look at this young man who is suffering from leukemia, and how his struggles, he and his family struggles to get him access to the only drug that was doing anything for him. And actually, he is at one point cancer-free. The state was trying to take him away from his family. And, of course, but it's really crazy what happened. CNN basically doxed him. They love to do that, apparently. But CNN basically doxed him. They went to Colorado to get meds, and on their way home, CNN did a preview of the story they were doing, and the doctor in Denver, the oncologist in Denver, found out about it and narked on him, called Child Protective Services, and told him to get out of the state when they got back. So the amount of misinformation and just ignorance over this medicine is astounding. Astounding. And so that's in Newsweek, also this week. What else we got? Oh, this was, of course, this was the law that was passed. You know, and back, Obama actually tried to overturn this amendment back when it was passed, and they lost in court. You know, so Obama wasn't exactly, you know, he wanted to get at the medical dispensaries and the medical laws around the states as well. But those, you know, it keeps rolling on. It keeps rolling on. We are, more and more states are passing the bills. More and more states are finding ways to get this medicine into the hands of the people that need it. I've been the screenplay I just wrote, or just finished, the first draft, is a Alzheimer's pod comedy, and so I've been doing a lot of research and doing the writing over the last year, and the amount of research that's out there, not in the United States, but even in the United States. I mean, there's some research being done in San Diego. There are nursing homes across the country that are defying federal law by allowing their seniors to use a medicine that's been used in Israel for decades with their seniors and with other patients. If you look up a documentary called The Scientist, you'll find out about the groundbreaking research that's been done in Israel since 1963, where they discovered the molecules THC and CBD. And just the amount of enlightenment over this subject in Israel is astounding. Because, I mean, it's grounded in science, it's grounded in compassion for their people and their patients, and I got to give them props where it's due. So there's another documentary called Prescribed Grass, which was from 2009, which has an excellent look at the Israeli cannabis efforts. And you're seeing more and more of it here in the United States. And if it was off Schedule 1, as Trey Gowdy and Connolly, a Republican member of the House, would agree, doesn't make sense, we could find a lot more science that actually backs up what many countries around the world and many more people are finding here in the United States. And I'm going to show a video right now, actually. This is actually, I think, this week in the news. And if you don't know, Montel Williams is an advocate, a user. He was diagnosed with MS a number of years ago, and he has used cannabis since he found it. And he is really, he's actually involved. I don't know if he's actually involved in that lawsuit, if he's one of the plaintiffs, but he is in business with one of the plaintiffs in the cannabis business. And that's a whole nother story too. The business of cannabis, it's going to change. It's all going to change. This is going to pop. It's going to be over. It's going to be really ironic that it's going to happen under Donald Trump. But anyway, let's take a look at this.
TV personality Montel Williams has been on a journey ever since being diagnosed with MS. He tried everything to relieve the pain. Then he tried cannabis, and that changed his life. And now Montell is a leading voice for medical cannabis, and he's out with the new line of products. And Montell is here to tell us all. You were diagnosed back in 1999, multiple sclerosis. Is that right?
Yes, sir, 99. From 99 to about 2001 and a quarter, I was using so many opioids that I had one doctor friend of mine who just said, "I'm done with you, man. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not giving you anymore," because I was up to taking 8, 9, and 10 varied forms of opioids at the highest strength every single day. I had to stop. One doctor who would not even go on record to say, "I can tell you this," but he said, "Montell, several of my patients like you with the same type of pain have found relief through marijuana. I don't know what that means, but they told me something about it works when you eat it. I don't know. You go find out, but I'm not writing you any more prescriptions."
And a lot of people don't want to put prescription drugs in their bodies. They want to do something more natural. Obviously, cannabis is natural. Has a lot changed over those 10, 12 years since you first started, just with public perception about what it can be used for?
How about 17 years? Over this 17 years since I started using, honestly, 16 years, I've been involved in almost every legislative process across this country, helping to get patients access to medication that works. And yes, attitudes have changed. 6 years ago, the entire nation agreed at about 82% that people should have access to medicine that their doctors recommend. If my doctor's smart enough to put me on chemotherapy and says use cannabis, then no one else should have a conversation about that. And that's why I developed this line. I developed the line because, and I'm not knocking it, because of the adult usage thing now, and all of a sudden there's this great green rush, everybody wants to sell a lot of weed, and I go right ahead if that's what you want to do. But if you're going to call it medicine, then let's make sure that we are putting it in the marketplace at the best processing ways and manufacturing techniques that we use. Let's use it at a pharmaceutical grade, and that's what I'm attempting to do with Lenitive Labs. And anybody wants to find out about it, just go up on lenitivlabs.com. You can find out about what we've done. We're creating an oil, that's our Pentium processor, that is probably one of the purest in the marketplace right now. We're attempting to even make it more pure. And what we do is we then formulate ratios of CBD and THC together so that it has the entourage effect that Dr. Meshulam, the doctor who discovered them all, wanted us all to understand to begin with.
Right. Because you were saying, and I read this, that not every one product fits everyone.
Correct.
You can specialize it, the concentrations, you can really specialize it geared towards the patient.
We're dialing it in a way so that a patient gets the opportunity to titrate themselves rather than walk into a dispensary somewhere and have an experience that's so overwhelming that they'll never touch the product again because they were over-titrated. We're helping you in ways, and this is not just about a product. Lenitive Laboratories is going to become a movement. I'm already doing tutorials in every single one of the dispensaries that are carrying us as we move to multi-states, which we are about to do immediately. We will be doing tutorials everywhere we go so that not only do I want people to come to this product and wonder, I want them to come in and understand what, why, when, and how. And nobody's really teaching that, and that's what we're going to do through Lenitive Labs.
And so far, this is launched in California.
Yes, sir.
You want to take this nationwide?
We are right now in about 24 dispensaries. We just landed in LA, right now in LA proper. We're at Bud and Bloom out in Santa Ana. We're picking up some other dispensaries here in town, all over the Bay Area. We're up there right now. And we've already started negotiations for multiple states, from Oregon to Nevada to Arizona. So we're about to grow.
So a lot of people are going to get a lot of benefit from this.
Well, look, if you want to go out and recreationally use marijuana, go and do so. I have no problem with anybody. But if you're going to call it medicine, then let's make sure that you're providing medicine. So if people go out, look, you may go into the dispensary and buy a little bubba this, go ahead. But when you walk out the door, remember that sick family member and say, oh, let me get some Lenitive for them.
Excellent. Thank you so
Lenitive
much,
Labs.
Montel. For more information about Montel Williams, go to kcal9.com, click Scene on TV. We have all the information that you need right there. Thanks, Montel.
Thanks, Juan. Thanks so much. Thanks, KCAL.
This week's edition of our special guest commentary features a very controversial topic in the state of Indiana, the idea of legalizing marijuana. Joining us today is Bill Levin of the First Church of the Cannabis and supporter of legalizing marijuana.
I'm here to talk to you about the beauties and the wonder of the cannabis plant. Did you know that 73% of Hoosiers want medical marijuana in our state? Did you know that it can fight and regulate several diseases? It can help you lose weight. It can help your metabolism. It can help fight anxiety, depression, and it can be a safe alternative and a cure for opiate addictions. It can spur mental creativity and helps focus. It can reverse the negative impacts of smoking tobacco on your lungs. It can be helpful for easing PTSD in our veterans. Its seeds are healthy and full of amino acids and protein. You can build environmentally sound structures with it. We currently have companies in Indiana that have 22 containers loads of hemp being shipped here every single week. According to the Uniform Crime Reporting data for Denver, there has been a 10.1% decrease in overall crime and 5.2% drop in violent crime. In Washington state, violent crime rates have dropped by 10%. Voters legalized recreational marijuana there in 2012. The only connection between marijuana and violence is the one that exists when illegal sellers battle it out for profits on the black market. It is our responsibility to compel our elected officials to change and be part of that action. Cannabis is good for our people and good for our state. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Your smiles make me happy. I love you all.
That was Bill Levin. Now we want to know what you have to say. Let us know what you think of what Mr. Levin talked about or anything on your mind regarding Indianapolis this week. You can reach us on Twitter, on the RTV6 Facebook page, on the RTV6 app, or at theindychannel.com.
The idea for Maine came from something that Meehan saw in Colorado, and he hopes that it'll take off in communities around the state.
Yes, I'm hoping that they do it.
Dennis Meehan opened up his medical cannabis shop a month ago and advocated for medical cannabis for years.
The reason that I did the research is so that I could get better results for the patients who need this therapy, who need the life-changing results.
Things like stress, anxiety, and pain. He wanted to share the benefits of medical cannabis to his community, so he put a call out on Facebook for anyone over 21, offering a gram to those who helped clean up the streets of Gardner on Saturday. The response? People from Bangor to southern Maine showed up, hauling in more than a dumpster full.
We have an opportunity to literally clean our entire state. It's all because of the most beneficial plant known to man.
We reached out to the town, and the city manager reiterated that the event did not involve recreational marijuana, which is still under a moratorium until November. Meehan says there's potential for a program like this to make a difference in towns across the state. And to add to that sense of community involvement, Riverside Trash said they'll pick that up for free. In Gardner, Kyle Jones, WMTW News 8.
You'd think as an elf, he'd grow great weed. I guess I could have let that play out, but that, of course, is was a video from cannabis.net talking about different strains, their usage and effectiveness specifically for lupus. Cannabis.net is a great resource for information and education, so I suggest you visit them. The video before that was Culture Magazine put that together, talking about the news that Jeff Sessions, did try to take the back door and get out our medical cannabis, and the Senate looks like they blocked him. So that's good news as far as that goes, and hopefully our vets are going to be able to get the medicine that they need. I know there is a strong veteran lobby that is trying to get it not only off Schedule 1, but just access through their doctors. And so, if there is something to talk to your reps about, something that where we all can come together on the left and the right, I think this is one topic that we can all agree on and maybe get some movement under this complete cloud of dysfunction that our country has become. I don't know if you watch the President show, but you should, because it's a great relief. I think it's probably the best satire in any platform right now regarding the Trumpster fire. So I highly recommend that. Thanks for joining me. This is Dave Conan. This is DC 420, my take on news about the world of cannabis, politics and pot, marijuana and the man, and just a general take on news in general. I'm trying to stick to pot. I mean, there's a lot of energy, wasted energy going on the left right now that is not new. I've saw it from the beginning of this latest political revolution, and it's a shame. So I think we can get over our egos, hopefully, and continue forward on my two subjects, really, that I'm going to focus on is ending war and expanding weed. And hopefully that's a couple of subjects that a lot more people are going to agree on. Certainly it looks like that the business world is agreeing on that. The amount of cannabis stocks, marijuana stocks, and business opportunities, venture capitalists, corporate weed. I mean, it's coming from everywhere. The little guy is getting crushed. You know, the man is still rounding up. Well, actually, interesting. It looks like the man isn't actually rounding up as much people as he was. There's another little tidbit that slipped under the radar this week. And this is, of course, Zero Hedge caught it. But it looks like federal drug prosecutions have hit a 25-year low. Now, HuffPost, of course, is spinning it that they just really haven't been able to get past the Eric Holder, Barack Obama changes that slow down prosecutions. And I suppose that's a valid argument because these guys can't seem to find their ass in a hole in the ground, although Jeff Sessions seems to be doing his job despite the attacks by the Twitter-in-chief. But 25-year low, dropping in pretty much every state, even in California. The numbers have been dropping. Let's see if let's hope that stays. I know he was out today, hubbub and huffing and puffing over. I find it interesting that he made it through that entire speech without talking about Jeff Sessions. He was talking about law and order in the Justice Department, and he made it through the entire speech unleashing the hounds of hell, basically approving police brutality without mentioning Jeff Sessions at all, who is arguably, if drug prosecutions are down, now is that because the judges haven't been nominated or approved? Is that because there's all these vacancies in the DOJ and there just isn't the funds or the people to do it? But he made it through the whole speech without talking about Jeff Sessions. So I find that's curious, considering how rambling he gets, and you'd think he would take a shot. But I guess maybe he was thinking about losing ranks and the last of the RNC swamp dwellers. He's drained it, but I don't know exactly what he's drained it of and put it in. He's drained some establishment folks, but there seems to be lots of Wall Street people. He defended that. I found an interesting quote this morning on Morning Mika. The New York Times, Brad Sheridan, that's his name, Brad something. He was recently been lied about by the Trump administration and can't get an apology out of him. But he made an interesting observation that even after this whole week, I'm talking about how bad this week is and what a failure Friday this is, that if he isn't impeached or resigns, he could get reelected. And no one disagreed. No one disagreed, and I tend to agree with him that if he isn't impeached or resigns, he could possibly get reelected. So we'll see. We'll see. Not if Bernie Sanders is nominated, I think. There's like a general, I don't know if it's general, but I hear some pretty good arguments. Now, if he runs as a Democrat, I don't even know if I could do that. But let's go back to that propaganda rag, Newsweek, mainstream. Here's the article on that lawsuit in New York. It's Marvin Washington, ex-Jetstar, is the main plaintiff in this, along with a 11-year-old boy and I think a right-wing congressperson, or I don't know. But it's an interesting mix. But yeah, Newsweek, here it is. It's mainstream. Here it is. We're going mainstream, yet, people are still locked up for minor drug offenses in more than half the states. And we're messing with the laws, or we're starting to get our stuff together here in LA, I suppose. Putting together our form for what our recreational situation is going to look like. I went to Canada recently. Had a great time in Canada. Beautiful country. Always wanted to visit, and glad I finally did. And my wife is also Canadian, so we wanted to take a look at Vancouver, and we went to Victoria. Met my family up there on a yearly vacation we try to pull together. And beautiful city, Vancouver. I have my souvenir from the New Amsterdam Cafe. If you guys haven't visited the New Amsterdam Cafe, it's in Gastown, and it's a smoking lounge in Vancouver, and you just go in and pay a little, basically a cover charge, and you can use all of their accoutrements and enjoy the cannabis that you can buy right across the street. It seems that Canada, of course, they've legalized it throughout the country. It hasn't gone into effect until I believe July 1st, 2018. I think that's Ottawa is doing it on that date. I don't know if that's the across the country date, but I believe it's pretty close. So they're going to legalize it, and the different provinces are figuring out how they're going to do it. I'm sure BC, I haven't read the BC idea, but basically it's legal in BC. There's sort of three levels of legality, if you will. There's black market, or rather there's green market, white market. There's white market, where you need a doctor's recommendation, and you take that to a legit dispensary and you get your medicine. Then there's sort of a gray market-ish, where you can walk in and you just basically say, hey, I have this is what I use it for. It doesn't matter where you're from, any country, as long as you have a government ID, you're over 19, 18, 19, and 18, I think it is, and then you can buy your meds. And then there's sort of the gray herb market, which was right across from the New Amsterdam, which was a storefront where they had about a dozen strains, where it's cash only, no questions, just an ID showing you of age, and then you go across the street and hang out before you go out, or in the morning, or whatever you do. So, and then there's another shop right next to it that Chella checked out after I moved on with my family. She hung out a little while in Vancouver, and so enjoyed it. Enjoyed the town. Enjoyed the openness about the way people want to get high. Never seen anybody shoot up on the street before, but saw it in Vancouver. I also heard that they have quite the opioid overdose problem, more so than even we do. And so, you know, the debate continues. If being liberal and open about things like that is necessarily a good thing, I think it is. I think there's other things at play. So the New Amsterdam, they're calling Vancouver, and that was the New Amsterdam Cafe, which was quite fun. Now, we don't have any of those in America. At least I didn't think we did, but we actually do. And it's actually here in my hometown. And I'm not quite sure how it all, you know, it all stays cool. But they've managed to figure out how to do it. And High Times, which on the business front, business news is about to go public, folks. High Times magazine is about to go public. According to U.S. News, right there, High Times magazine, ready to roll with a public offering. So get ready. I mean, this is the bill. California is about to explode. We're going to be the 4th largest economy in the world. But here is a little shop pretty close. Was right around the corner from where I live, but it's pretty close to where I live right now. But it's a little shop called Wake and Bake. Check them out.
Hey, welcome to Wake and Bake. Hello.
Yo, Tony. What's happening, man? What's good, bro?
This is my morning breakfast. Super Silver Haze. I love this one. So fluffy.
You can smoke on site?
Yeah, you can smoke in here. We have a private reserve. purple monkey balls, and we have some really good coffee.
Nice. Might as well.
You know how many times people just walk in here and they're just like, can I get a coffee and a joint? Is that what I see? Look at him. They're like, what is this place?
Brian and I are very proud of what we built here at Wake and Bake. We're the very first shop in America to provide this cannabis social club environment. Welcome to Wake and Bake.
Wake and Bake is more than just a brick and mortar store that has coffee, tea, and cannabis. It's a lifestyle, it's a culture, way of life.
This place is like Amsterdam.
Here, everyone's just really relaxed, everyone's smoking, everyone's high.
You come and hang out and play chess and cards and have tea and maybe some private reserve, I don't know. But they're trying, and that's why I'm here.
What's up, Carmen? How you doing?
What's up, Brian? Hey, Carmen, how are you doing?
Welcome to Wake and Bake. Me and Brian played football together. We played at Indiana University. You know, we started from a team atmosphere. We were constantly put to the test. That's the kind of mentality that we take on into the business. This is all Humboldt Legends.
Yep.
You see this critical mass? We're meeting with Kevin today, ocean grown distributor, really good trees. All Kevin grows is organic, pesticide free, and all lab tested. Today, we have Theatrical Thursday. We get crazy busy, so we're gonna pick up some inventory for tonight.
Monkey balls. I've had that a long, long time ago. Actually, that was like the first time we opened.
Yeah, we had monkey
the
balls.
monkey balls.
And you don't have that Jack Harrow anymore?
No, not with me, man.
I might have to wait on the Emperor, man. It's the critical mass.
Yep.
When you present a popular strain to a lot of members, they kind of want to look for that consistency. So this fat nug here, it kind of seals the deal for me. This is real dense, and you know, of course, I'm gonna smoke it after to find out if it's good or not.
There's some fresh cookies if you like. This is a new batch I'm trying. I put oatmeal in it, so I added an extra egg white.
There's no win.
Medicine-free, but filled with love.
Exactly.
But yeah.
It's actually perfect.
Glad you like it.
So we are having something big come up.
Yeah.
We're going to start off our first year by having an Independence Festival at North Hollywood Park.
Okay.
Our headline is going to be Snoop Dogg.
Cool, because we could have it to where he could judge like two.
That would be cool.
I run the Kush Olympics. It's basically a smoking contest. Everything from speed rolling to speed smoking to dab for dab. People love competition. People love getting high, so it's just a good way to combine both things.
We have to be ready as soon as he gets up. Like during that 420, we want to do a smoke at the park to where everybody's smoking at one time.
Yeah.
July 4th, we're having Snoop Dogg come and potentially Wiz as well.
Just making sure I'm focused.
Brian's just been, you know, constantly on the ball, setting up a meeting with the city council. We have to be in translation back and forth with these city representatives.
We have 3 minutes, right on time. Oh.
Oh, is this it? No. It's a council meeting?
Yes.
Hey!
Wait.
Woo! Hey, everybody.
Hello. Hi.
Not many of y'all know me, but I am Brian Williams. I have a festival that I want to start. It's called the Independence Festival, held every 4th of July at North Hollywood Park. We're working with a budget of about $575,000 to create this festival. We want to have Snoop Dogg or Wiz Khalifa as a headliner. I got the green light from them, got the green light from them. I have a stage, I have a performer. Now I need the city to say, hey, we can use it. And y'all are more than welcome to join the team because I need help.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
It's a really
Yeah.
good idea.
And I think we
don't have something like that in this community, so that'd be great.
It sounds like a great idea, but again,
not us.
That's not us.
Yeah, it's just more details. Okay.
If you're talking about doing something in the park, especially coming up that fast, you want to talk to Sahag.
Sahag, okay. At the end of the day, this festival is gonna happen. When you need to get things done, you have to be engaged. You have to go get it. The thing is, there isn't a no for an answer. There isn't a no, so that's the exciting part of it.
right now it's not even the end result of what we envision Wake and Bake to be. We got to keep on going. It's just the second half. It's just the first quarter.
Order up. Gorilla Glue Extra Sticky. Here's your fresh brewed coffee.
We've got Super Silver Haze.
Actually, it's theatrical night tonight. It's open mic night. Feel free to relax.
We on live with High Times, y'all. Reporting live from the center of the sun.
All right, ready?
Oh no, this might not be a good one. Let me put a Wake and Bake filter on. It might make it look better. Okay, that's a little better today. I hate to put you on the spot, man, but what made you get into the comedy game, man?
I'm funny.
Yes. All right, well, we're going to have to say that for the open mic, man. We'll see you, man. You already signed up. We'll see you on the list.
Who's smoking? Who got a pre-roll? Yeah. Yes! Thank you guys so much for coming. This is so cool. I love this. Every week it's getting bigger and bigger. So first, we're going to get the musician part of the night started. How does that sound?
Wake and Bake's huge on community. I believe that we're made of the individuals of this club, so it's cool to see that happen here in Wake and Bake.
They be like, what you on? 64, 64, 64, 64.
I'm a bit of a pothead. Can't remember whether I sent a video of my cats doing something adorable or a dick pic.
Great people smoke marijuana. You're great. You're great. You're great.
Shout out to my mom.
It's been a really great night tonight. Always a great night when you see people happy and laughing. This is an example of what it needs to be like every day in cannabis culture.
Was it all in my head? Was it real or was it all in my head?
So yeah, quick answer to your question there, Zox. They do have it for personal growing. They don't have any laws yet. That's part of what they're going to be doing with the recreational. I think there might be, personal growing for medicinal right now with federal permission. They do have legalized grows that are basically licensed by the government to grow for medicinal reasons. So it's all sort of still being worked out as far as the recreational area goes, but as far as medicinal, I believe they're a little more liberal, I'd say, than we are here in California. I'm taking a guess, but they do have medicinal grow laws, and you have to get your marijuana from licensed growers and yada yada. So if I confused you in that answer. They're working out the personal grow for recreation, and each province is figuring that out. I think that's the way it is. But yeah, that's Wake and Bake, and they are right here in Los Angeles, and apparently the only cannabis lounge in the United States. If that's not true, I'd like to know some others, because maybe go on a tour. But probably not. Probably not many. Maybe up in Washington. I was in Washington as well as Vancouver, and of course they have legal, recreational now, which is doing very well. They're working out the problems because they've got issues with overlap with medicinal. And that's part of the problem here in California as well. We had a perfectly well working medicinal cannabis law here in California for people that really need access and the ability to grow reasonable amounts of cannabis for their conditions. And this Prop 64 might sort of throw that all into the garbage. Hopefully it doesn't, and access to people who really use it medicinally remains. Now, if we can get it off of Schedule 1, which seems to be an actual viable conversation now in this Congress, are you kidding me? My head is exploding, but hey, I'll take it. I'll take getting it off of Schedule 1. A lot of things will change in this country for the better if we can do real research which, you know, obviously, you know, Montel Williams and other folks, Carver, is that his name? I know I'm getting his name wrong. Marvin Washington. Marvin Washington, the lawsuit in New York. If we can get this off of Schedule 1, you know, a lot of things are going to change. Now, you know, Jeff Sessions, notwithstanding, but is he really going to be around that much longer? I don't know. I don't think he's going to quit. So what else is going on in the news? There's Montell, written up in The Cannabis. Okay, oh, here we go. This is who Montell is working with in his company. This I found to be an interesting group. Former NSA officer and talk show host seek a success as cannabis entrepreneurs. So Montell, very active. I put him in my screenplay. But Montell, very active in medicinal cannabis. And really, it is a medicine. You know, the more and more you look at the research, the more and more you have to realize that it has to be allowed. It has to be allowed for Alzheimer's, to cancer, to lupus, to anything that has to do with inflammation, arthritis, seizures, anything neurodegenerative. There's the cannabinoids. There's two really good documentaries, both by, I believe, the same filmmaker, and they are about the Israeli cannabis effort. One is called The Scientists, and the other is called Prescribed Grass. And they are a couple of really good documentaries that you should share with your friends that have questions about whether cannabis is a medicine or not. And it answers some pretty good questions. Now, I'm all for recreational cannabis. Don't get me wrong. You know, I personally don't think it should be. I think it should be, prohibition should end. If you look at Portugal and the results, you know, Glenn Greenwald just tweeted recently about this year's results of Portugal's efforts in decriminalizing. So I'm for decriminalization because when you tax and regulate, you know, you're basically you're hindering access to people who just should be allowed to use it however they do it. You know, in that testimony by Connolly, he mentioned that it's more lethal now. I think he corrected himself, but he'll put it out there that the weed is more lethal. No one has ever died from cannabis. Should you use edibles, you know, properly, and then you know, build up our tolerance, and because edibles can, you know, edibles can hit you pretty good, but you know, you'd have to smoke a lot of weed to be toxic, and you'd probably die from all the sugar first, from the munchies. Yeah, so that's this week in weed, pretty much, guys. I think it's all the videos I found. There's a lot of action around the country on cannabis, and it continues to be an amazing amount of hypocrisy that people are behind bars. Mandatory minimums gone now. Just basically the assigning statement for the omnibus budget, saying that, hey, listen, ignore this law that says don't use funds to go after medical marijuana states. Go ahead, Trump says in one of his signing statements. So, you know, they're coming for something that we've been working very hard for. But hopefully this lawsuit in New York, I'm going to keep an eye on that, is going to proceed through the courts, and maybe a backdoor to legalizing marijuana. And states are just going to continue to bring it to the people, because the voters are saying yes. The voters and the public are saying we want it, we need it, it works, and it's the only thing that gives my mother-in-law any joy or relief from her symptoms of Alzheimer's disease. So that's why I'm focusing on it, one of the reasons. But I'm sure you'll all have your own. Thanks for watching. I'm Dave Conan. This was DC 420. I'm going to try to do this every week now. I'm got re-inspired to get back on. I finished my screenplay first draft. I'm going to start editing, so I got to focus on that. But there was a lot of big news this week in cannabis and marijuana legalization, and you know, I'm really glad to see it being talked about in the Congress, and that people on the right like Trey Gowdy, I might have to say I'd work with on legalizing, or at least getting it off of Schedule 1, because he said he doesn't want to legalize it. But we can agree that it has no place on Schedule 1, and it needs to be taken off, and real research needs to be done so that people can start getting relief. Our vets, our seniors, largest growing population. I tweeted an article in the New York Times this week. I mean, it's not from this week. I think it's from earlier this year, but I tweeted it about a nursing home in New York City that uses cannabis, and that I'd be ashamed to see that after those folks are getting some relief, that that might end. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe, share. I'm going to try to get some other voices on the channel, OurResistance.tv. You can follow me on Twitter at OurResistanceTV, and also my personal account, which is at DC420LA. But I usually use the Our Resistance one. But you know. Anywho, thanks for watching, and hope to see you next week. Peace, love, and cannabis.
I experimented with marijuana a time or two, and I didn't like it, and didn't inhale.
Director Baum, in case my mom is watching, I want to be really clear. I'm not advocating for the legalization of marijuana. I will be very, very clear about that. However, I don't understand why it's a Schedule 1. It's certainly not treated as a inherently dangerous substance for which there is no medicinal value. It takes a tractor trailer full of marijuana to even trigger a mandatory minimum under our drug laws.